Hello guys, today / this week / for a few weeks I'm going to be building my next beetleweight robot, my second one hopefully. So to clear a few things up about the last beetle that I built, comments raised like a year ago or whenever that video came out. First and foremost, that one was never meant to have spinners on it. It was going to be, that was like a kind of eventual goal. This was always going to be, the first one rather, was going to be like a practice kind of robot. Secondly, it's called Huhnerfleisch, which means chicken meat in German. So no more explanation needed for that. Okay, so as I think I said at the end of the last video for that one, I learned so much just from building that one. I've now competed in an event and done the sort of RoboNode football as well. So I've had like a bit of a chance to drive it against other robots, against things. And again, I've learned so much more just from that. So this robot is essentially going to be a sort of kind of sequel robot, as it were, to that. Like it's going to be quite similar in terms of general layout. I'm going to, essentially keep the things that worked, improve the things that really didn't. Okay, so let's start with the positive. Things that worked. I was really pleased with the shape in general. It was actually quite good at getting underneath things, so I'll probably keep these kind of like skinny metal wedges, because although like when they did get messed up, they got really messed up, it was really easy just to kind of bend them back into place or just chuck some spare ones on there. So that worked really well. So my first fight at the Subterranean Showdown, I went against Delta V, which won the whole thing eventually. But I managed to like keep them at bay for like a reasonable amount and like for a good sort of amount of time with the kind of pontoony wedges. So I was actually really kind of pleased with the way that worked out. So yeah, they will be staying, that element of the design will be staying. The wiring didn't have a problem with at all, didn't go wrong at all. The only issue I had was with my link, which was very exposed. I've since read a fantastic article about where to position your link and all this sort of stuff, and basically I did every step of that wrong, hence my link didn't last very long. So aside from that, the wiring was really good. The only change I'm making to that, I'm using a slightly more flexible insulation on my next wire, because the insulation, or the insulation on the wire that I was using, was more intended for kind of things that are going to be routed and then just left there, whereas obviously with this you're kind of pulling stuff in and out all the time, like batteries, etc, etc. So I've used a slightly more flexible, or I will be using a slightly more flexible insulation on this wire. Okay, things that did not work, or needed some improvement. So drive wise, it was, like I say, it was getting underneath stuff. When it was underneath stuff though, it didn't have the power to push it at all. I guess the distribution, it was just pressing the wedges down into the floor. Also I think it was driving around okay with no weight on it, but once you had the weight of a robot, it was squidging the wheels just that bit, and because like I hadn't really allowed as much for like the thickness of the HDP when designing it, it was basically almost kind of grounding it, I think, a lot of the time. So for the RoboNode football, I stuck some more of the self-amalgamating tape around the wheels to kind of increase their diameter, and they actually drove a lot better and it could shove stuff around a little bit more. However, still wanted to push things even better than that, so I'm upgrading to the next level of motors, I guess you'd call it, to brushless this time, so that hopefully it will have real decent pushing power to overcome like there being the scraping wedges and then it just kind of digging in it, as it were. I keep looking off to the side, don't I? There it is. Sorry, it's right here, that's why I keep looking off. One thing also for live events, you need like something for it to like rest on, like a cradle. I just had a pair of pliers, thankfully they let that pass, but this I've now got this, which is a kitchen trivet, which I've jazzed up with some yellow insulation tape. Okay, so other changes. I've kind of toyed with different ideas. I bought a pruning chainsaw. I know there's a robot called Chain Bastard, which has got a movable chainsaw, which is amazing. So I was going to kind of do like the previous robot with like an undercutting chainsaw. It's in the pipeline for maybe another time. However, I was inspired by these, which get wasted at work. They often go in the bin at work when like you'd use the rest of the components, and it's like a sort of flexible conduit. But if you put a wire through one end of it and then pull the wire from this end, it curls up in this like really interesting way. So I'm kind of want to incorporate a kind of like two creepy little tentacles kind of like just tucked inside the pontoons. I don't know if it will be an effective weapon or whether it will just look bizarre, but I don't know, I just think it's something a bit different. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna give that a go. So that hopefully will be the main like difference with this one. However, that does come with another problem, which I found with this robot was, even though it's a big bulky robot, like I say, the wedges are like completely empty, and the front and rear are both tapered, so the amount of room inside is actually really quite minimal. And although these new brushless motors will be smaller, there's still not much room to play with in there. So for this one I went with the standard 2.5 inch diameter wheels, and like I say, it made it better to get them like a bit bigger. So this time I've gone with the 3-inch wheels, so it's gonna be a bit bigger overall, I think, as well. But hopefully that will mean that I've got that little bit extra room kind of inside to play with, especially if I'm going to try and fit some like sort of servo or something for pulling these tentacles in. Footnote, do be careful when searching tentacle on Etsy, because there are some people with some niche tastes out there, and they seem to occupy a large part of the Etsy tentacle market. Be careful, kids. So those are like the main kind of big differences. I'm going to start with just the wiring again, as I did last time. And weirdly, even though I've done it before, I'm like almost more nervous and like sort of like hope I can know how to do it, because it was like pushing 2 years ago, I think, I built the first one. So I don't actually remember how on earth it all goes together. So I'm going to have to like look up all my notes, probably take this robot apart and like be like, how on earth did I do this? So yeah, that's step one. Most important component. Cheers, BBB. Okay, I've taken the old one apart because I couldn't remember how it went back together. So yeah, I'm just making up some components now. I'm going to do what I did last time, where I used a lot of push fit parts. So instead of soldering, there'll be a lot of crimped components, so that hopefully I can yeah, hopefully I can swap components quicker if need be. So I'm going to try and make up some spares as well. I could only get 2 motors currently, but I'll be doing some spares hopefully. Okay, bit of work later. I've got an LED sort of cluster here. I'm gonna try and do a black light LED vibe for the robot, so maybe have some black light paint on there which only glows up in certain light, all that sort of thing. Anyway, we've got LEDs, we've got speed controllers ropely wired up, bullet connectors to the motors. These are taped to this box just for some directional indication. So we can, well, hopefully it'll all work, and then we can like blend the right word? Something the controller, blend it. And we've got a BC there, we've got all the positives here, all the negatives here. Yeah, and also over here is a servo that I've bought, which only has this plug. There's nothing else going to it, so I don't know if it's powered directly from like the receiver by the BC, I don't know. So I'm gonna make sure the drive works first and then have a stab at that, basically. Power link. Please don't explode this time. Okay. Go forward or backwards. Okay, nothing from that currently. Drive system 2, done. Okay, so I've drawn out a net now. It is actually quite a bit different from the old one. So I've tried to, as I haven't got the servos to sort of measure with, I've been using this as a very rough guide to sort of, you know, fit in about there. So I've basically tried to expand this area out, so I've got a lot more room to play with in the sort of wing, what I've been calling the pontoon bits. And because it kind of like brought it a lot wider, I kind of made it a bit longer as well, just to try and keep some of the proportions in play. So yeah, it's about the same-ish in terms of general shape. I've also made these a little bit deeper as well to allow a little bit extra for the wheels. I actually measured up the wheels with, excuse me, the old one. So this is the one with the tape around the edge, and this is the new one. So you can see they're actually pretty much the same size. So yeah, I've gone with a, like I say, a similar size sort of chassis to this one. I'll just put a couple of layers of the tape on here just to give it that extra bit of grip. And like I said, I had no issues with this at all. This is the original tape that I put on here. It's this self-amalgamating tape, and it's run all over Brighton seafront, an event, the robot football, general driving around and stuff, and I've had no issues at all having come unstuck. So really pleased with them. So I'll be doing that again with this. Okay, got my various shapes for the sort of the start parts. I remember last time I sort of built some of them and then ended up sort of making up the panels based on what was currently there and all the angles, etc. So I'm making up currently the ones that I know are definitely going to be this shape. Okay, so part of documenting this is documenting mistakes. So I was very happy with my bulkheads, really pleased. Holes line up, the hole saws work perfectly, and I was like, well, you know, as they're sort of symmetrical, four-way symmetrical, then you should be able to do this, and they'll still line up, and they don't. What's going on there? Yeah, I looked at my template, and I've gone, well, this is halfway along, and that's halfway down, and I've used these squares, assuming this was a full square at a casual glance, which it's not, so it's about 0.25 mil out, which, when you're talking about wheel position for the holes, is too much. So yeah, I mean, at least I guess I tried it now rather than drilling all the wheel mounts and everything like that, but a little bit annoyed. As I'd only just done the bulkheads, I didn't fancy doing them again, so I've just started on the paint job. So I'm going with a yellow chevron as opposed to the white one on the previous one. Cool, so we actually have panels together at this point. So I don't know why I painted these, because now I'm having to be really careful with like clamping them and all this stuff, so but never mind. So yeah, we've got our bulkheads. I remade them with the holes now in the correct place. Look at that, that's satisfying. I've made these ropey but functional little holes for the servo to go through. So the servo came in the post, and yeah, as many of you probably know, you just plug it straight into the receiver, and it was the easiest thing ever. But never mind. At least it's here now. So now I've ordered another one of these, and so I'm basically working out at this point. I've solved my problem of how these things are gonna come down, because if you pull them up from, oh come on, can I do from this one hand? There we go. Basically, at an angle, they flop back down, essentially is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to mount them sort of up against the ramp like this. And then, yeah, I just need to work out a way of fixing a servo both sides. And then, I don't know, like having basically the arm somehow that yanks it up and pulls it without it kind of fouling the wheel or anything else around here. It's a busy area, this, let's be honest. But yeah, that's the next task. But this is, you know, the sort of thing I do with the model making all the time, like just little fiddly stuff like this. So yeah, and then already I've got some bit of cardboard stuff there to start boxing out the rest. Basically the same as I did last time. There are different shapes, so you know, it'll be different panels, but the technique I'll use will be the same. And I can't remember if I mentioned it before, but on this build, the top and the front are going to be different parts, basically to make it easier to access everything inside. There wasn't any real need for the bend in the top last time, so yeah, I'm going to make it so that you can literally just take the front off and, you know, get to the parts a lot easier. Cool, okay, so we're at this stage again. At a glance, looks all right, but so in an effort to sort of keep these screws going into different angles, you know, a bit more like uniform, a bit nicer, I've made these sort of little bits of offcuts here to like sort of act as thingies, but they're a bit all over the place. But they're functional currently, so I can always go back at a later date and sort of neaten it up, as it were. But I guess they're doing what they need to do. So yeah, I'm going to do exactly the same as I did last time. I'm going to make a sort of cardboard net of all the different triangle sections here, and then do sort of one big piece, heat bend it. So yeah, there should sort of technically only be 2 more panels to go on here. Okay, update. So I'm doing reasonably well, like progress-wise, but I've just successfully got a position in the, I don't even know what it's called, the next big Beetle event by Bristol Bot Builders, which is on the 20th of July, with a proof of movement needed by the 7th. So ideally I want to be kind of fully done by the 7th, really, and it's currently the 9th of June, so I need to knuckle down and get this done. It's good to kind of have an end point, but also I'm like, I hope I can get these lifting arms moving. But I've put aside like several complete days so I can fully throw myself into this and hopefully get it all done. I've got like a backup of, I just have 2 regular kind of lifting arms if I can't get them working. But currently, hang on a sec, can I demonstrate this on camera? This is so weird. So right. So we've got in here is 2 teeth that I used, well, some leftover ones from when I was restoring a 6-foot T-Rex model. Long story. This green stuff here is fishing wire, rated up to, I think it's 40 kilos, so hopefully it won't snap. Well, it shouldn't snap. And so here is the thing. So if I put this here, and then I'd say, okay, it's not really doing it very well. This is it. This is why I've like got to really get this right. If I do it like this, there you go. It's kind of, it wiggles it up a little bit. It's hopefully when it's all a bit more together, a little bit more whatever, I can work this all out, and I'll have these two creepy little like claws going up and down. So yeah, we'll see how this works out. Cool. Okay, so there we go. We've got our cardboard bit that goes here. So it like folds around nicely. It all fits in quite neatly. Quite pleased with how that's sort of looking. That will line up there, so these will screw in there. So yeah, take this together, flatten it out, and do two, because it just about works on the other one as well. I could do like a custom one to sort of take up any slack. Okay, right, we're kind of together for the first time. As you can see by this here, the electronics are absolutely squidged in. So I've made some, you can just see the edge of one there, some like cardboard innards, which then have got these plates here which kind of hold them in place so that nothing fouls against the sort of spinning inside bits of the motors. But yeah, it has made space quite an issue inside. Like I said, this is absolutely squidged in, so nothing's going to move around, which is a bonus. But I've also got to fit a link mounting point somewhere in this nothing here. Maybe I'll trim these and resolder or something. The light obviously has to be fixed behind here as well, so it kind of looks a bit sad. But yeah, I'm going to do its first like actual drive test run on the floor, just to see if any issues pop up, and also it's been ages since I've driven a robot and I want to have some fun. The Dremel has completely died, so that's annoying. So I've only just started doing my metal cutting. So neat. Which is really annoying, so I just wanted to get it out of the way because it's one of my least favourite bits. It's loud, it's scary, it's, yeah. So annoyingly I can't do that. So I've turned my attention back to the problem of mounting this link and squishing this in here. I think it's going to be so difficult. That I was trying to think of another solution, and my original design for the old Huhnerfleisch was meant to have a kind of like prod sorry, a sort of pointed wedge thing at the front, much like this, which was meant to, I don't know, just look kind of cool or whatever. But I'm thinking now it might actually be, this was the first panel I cut, so it's all a little bit ropey and stuff, like it's not the best cut one. So I'm thinking maybe if I make a panel that incorporates this and a kind of bend at the front which sort of fits here, I might have to redo the top one as well to sort of fill in that gap there. But it will give me that just little bit of extra room, which I really desperately need in this one. And yeah, it will look a lot more different as well from the first one, which I think will be kind of cool if I can pull it off. You might remember the sort of nose that I accidentally made for the first one, but hopefully this will look a little bit more sort of part of the actual design. So yeah, that's the sort of thoughts here. I don't think it should compromise anything else. I think it would literally just be giving me that extra bit of space and changing the look a little bit. Cool, so I've got my cardboard net. I'm gonna do my usual thing. It's weird how little this kind of changes from model making to making robots, but this is just my method. Okay, actually looking quite good. I'm quite pleased with it. I love the, so I can't remember if I mentioned these LED kind of like a sort of net, so the LED projects across this kind of bendy bit of plastic, and that'll sit in the eye as it the eye, and then light up. So that'll be the LED indicator. The link is on the front here. We're a bit exposed, but it'll do. There's no on this robot really that's good to be. So now I'm going to do a new top panel to go across here. But yeah, as a look goes, I'm actually quite pleased with that. I think it looks quite good. A little bit wonky, I didn't bend it quite right, but at a general glance it looks all right. I was hoping to use these like T-Rex teeth to go in the end of the sort of tentacly, hooky, lifting arm claw thing. Turns out as soon as I started screwing into these, they were just shattering everywhere. So terrible decision, something like up close. So I've made these just HDP wedges instead. So bear in mind the Lego, it's just a holding thing so that I don't lose my threads all through here. But I've got 4 of the fishing wires going through to sort of help pull it upwards. I've got another 2 to help pull it hopefully downwards. And I'm currently just working on mounting it onto the actual body of the robot. And then I'm going to look at, I've got these little tiny pulleys so that hopefully I can have the servo inside here and then have the strings kind of all of the pulleys just going back and forward, hopefully sort of work it all out. So it goes one way and it lifts it up, goes the other way and it pulls it back down. That's sort of the plan. And if that works, do it all again. And in case you're wondering what these dots are, that will be revealed. Okay, I didn't really have much time today, so I have paused from working out the servo with the lifting arm to do a bit of painting today, because that's all I really had time for. So yeah, I've been using this purple paint that was left over from the Witch Doctor build I did a year or quite a few years ago now probably, and it's kind of got this metallic purple which I thought would be really nice for the sort of ridiculousness of the design. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how that's looking so far. Got a few other panels over here just currently drying, and also so those weird little marks on the sort of wing bits are going to be these, which are little tiny rubber bungs, which I've now painted in chrome gold. So hopefully the rubber takes the paint. I know I've had some projects in the past where rubber really has rejected paint quite severely. But assuming it does, then we'll have these, and they really look metal. I think I'm really pleased with the way they look. So basically, they're going to have the holes, which are no, there you can just about see them there. So they'll be drilled out just enough to put the sort of top bit of those through, and then obviously the bottom bit won't let it go through any further, and then I'll glue or whatever it in place, just to add a bit of visual, basically, something a bit sort of well, as you can probably tell from this colour, it's a visual robot. So yeah, that's the plan. But yeah, I've got a full day in a couple of days time coming up, so I really want to get this worked out because the deadline is drawing closer. Right, just finished doing the wedges. So the ones on the old Huhnerfleisch were about 1 mil, I think it is, mild steel, and they were quite bendy. Part of what I liked about them was the fact that they were quite thin, so you could just sort of bend them back into place if they got a bit buckled, which they did several times. So I thought, okay, that's 1 mil. So what I'll do, I'll go 1.5 mil, just a little teensy bit thicker. And this stuff is like a block of metal. Like, it's so hard to cut through and work. So I've been doing that basically all morning, getting these 2 bits ready and trying to bend them as well. They're not very even, but I'm hoping they'll still sort of sit with the sort of, obviously I did the pre-cut sort of edge, was the one I was going to do as the floor scraping bit. They're a little bit ropey around there, but hopefully a little bit of grinding and also a coat of gold paint, you know, because gold and purple are very much the theme of this robot. I've just spotted a flaw with my design. Right, so I've done my servo mount, so that's in there now. I was just going to plug that in to kind of set that up, tie a bit of string to the appropriate bit, and then hopefully get this up and running. However, I thought, right, what I'll do, I'll take the top off to plug in the servo, and I might be able to wiggle some electronics out of there, but it's quite tight, so I was like, oh, I'll just take the front off. But the front is attached to this, which is going to be attached to this, so the front won't be able to come off, which was kind of the point of having the front. Ah, never mind. Right, so I've got my servo here, obviously with the little wheel there. I've got my string at the various extremities. So I'm going to put some power into it and give this a test. This is very exciting. I mean, it briefly worked, didn't it? We saw it. Okay, that needs to stay up on there. It's almost like the string is like stretching slightly. But the sort of principle is working, so that's good. That's not much of a lift, is it? It's not a it's not a huge lift. It's not quite the enormous like curl that I was hoping for, to be honest. But that actually kind of sucks. Okay, guys, right. So I'm gonna have to make a decision at this point in the build. I think with a lot of work, this could work, but with the kind of amount of time I sort of have left, it's literally only 2 weeks now until this is meant to be fighting. I don't think I'm gonna get it working properly until then. There's so many like little points of failure and little complex nuances to it that I think I'm gonna have to go with my backup plan and just do static, well, not static, but movable lifting arms, basically, just HTP arms, which can just go up and down both sides. It's a shame. I really would have liked to get these kind of creepy tentacles working, but I've got to be sensible about it. So yeah, we're going to scratch this idea for now, put it on the back burner, and go with just regular lifting arms. Much simpler, but hopefully still just as effective. I want to basically get this side 100% working, completely set up so I can replicate that side. So counterintuitive though it is, I've just begun doing all my holes here for my golden spikes to go through, and just giving this all another layer of paint, plus the actuator arm. Yeah, there's the other cable routing bit. But yeah, it needs another coat of paint anyway at some point. So yeah, basically I just want to make sure everything works, no issues come up, and then, like I say, replicate it all for this side. Okay, so it's now the Tuesday before the event, which is on the Saturday. Unfortunately, I came down with flu last week, so some of the much needed time to finish this off has sort of been lost. And I'm not 100% yet still. Anyway, I've managed today to get the other lifting arm on and working, which is good. Blended it so that they both go up and down on the same controller, on the same stick rather. So that all that's left to do, hopefully, is work out a locking bar for these, so it passes safety checks. Get the actual armour on. This is just sat on here right now. And then, yeah, just on the way in, and it's getting nearer to the weight limit, much closer than the last robot. So do a final one of those, and then, yeah, hopefully final bit of decoration, clean the floor, and give it a test drive. And I say clean the floor because it's just an absolute state in here.
That is an awful, 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 awful mess.
Okay, it's the first day before the event, and we're finished. We're finally finished. Thank goodness for that. That was getting a little bit close to a time budget for my liking. Anyway, we'll do some gratuitous close-ups and stuff. Looks-wise, it looks ridiculous, which is perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. Like I say, it's a shame we couldn't get those sort of tentacly arms working, but the lifting arms themselves hopefully should provide just a bit of offensiveness for the opponents, so that's good. Weight-wise, we are like 45 grams off the actual limit, so hopefully it'll be a bit more sort of weight behind it to shove into stuff, etc. I'm a little bit concerned sort of with structure-wise. If you look at this, it can sort of bend quite a bit. There's a lot of flexibility in there, which wasn't in the previous one. Mainly because I've made so many compromises, I think, in that area. I think the amount of material I've cut away in this second sort of inner wall has really quite weakened it, to be honest. So, and if you look at it from overhead, you can see the room here has meant that this arm is much further back than this arm. So, yeah, it's a bit wonky and a bit whatever, but, you know, overall, quite happy with it. Hoping it will get underneath stuff as well as the previous one did. Yeah, I don't have time to take it down to the beach or whatever and do a test drive like I did the other one, so I'm just going to do a little test drive on the floor, see how it works, see if it can lift up the previous robot, etc. And then, yeah, going to pack some freaking bags, hopefully make a couple of spares, and fight it in 2 days' time. Okay, so we've got a bit of wheel spin going on there whenever we got something on the front. So I've basically done what I did before, put a load more tape around, made the wheels a bit bigger, a bit grippier. I think those wheels I put on so long ago that they've got so much crud and old plastic and whatever on them that they were slipping a little bit, so they've got that little bit of extra grip now. I've sort of hodgepodged together some spares, anything that I sort of got lying around that can hopefully keep it running for the whole event. So I'm trying to be a little bit more prepared this time, just in case I'm not quite as lucky as I was before. So I'm going to try and do a video on the event. Weirdly, I do have pretty much all the footage, etc., to do a video on my previous event. I just never got around to it. So maybe I'll do that sometime as well. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully you can win a fight or two. That would be really good. As long as it survives, then happy days. I'll put it in the whiteboard fights until it doesn't. To anyone else competing, I'll see you there. That was quite a long video, so I really appreciate you guys watching that whole thing. Thank you very much.